Greetings everyone, this is Eldad Amara with my channel Eyes Wide Shut. I'm going to jump straight into this video. Who and what is God? Who and what is God? I personally think that God is a consciousness throughout the boundless universes. Not just one universe, but universes. You see, we have something called a conscience, yeah? We have consciousness. This allows us to think. This allows us to create. This allows us to evaluate. And this process happens in literally tenths of a second. If you think about something such as you're thinking about going on a holiday, or you think about a holiday that you've been on, all these images come up in the mind very quickly, right? It takes literally tenths of seconds for you to memorize something, for you to remember a holiday from the past. But also, you can remember your present. I'm in the present right now, okay? And my thoughts and my ideas are coming from the present consciousness. We also have the future, our future consciousness. Okay, I can look into the future and I can think and analyze and see things in the future. So my consciousness is not limited to this avatar. My consciousness is not limited to my body. Our bodies are very dense, especially on this plane, on this third dimensional plane. Our bodies are very dense. It's like our bodies are prisons that we're living in. But our consciousness is something external. Although it operates internally, it's external. Now, if God was a man, a physical being, can God move throughout the physical universe and see everything also at the same time? Can he see past, present and future within this living avatar? Can God see the past, present and future? Because through the Bible and through other texts, through other religious texts, some faiths think that God is a man, and some people think that Jesus was God. Now, can Jesus be in several places all at the same time? Is he omnipotent? Is he all-seeing? Jesus came down to earth, okay, from somewhere called heaven, because we say that God is omnipotent. He's all-seeing. He's all-being. And why do we limit God also to being a man? Why can't God be a woman? Where do we get these concepts from? Where do we get these notions from that God is a man? Now, I don't say that all religions say that God is a man, but there's some faiths that believe this Jesus figure was God. For those people who say, no, Jesus was not God, he was just merely the Son of God. So who and what is God? Who and what is God? And I'll say it one more time, who and what is God then? Some people are going to get offended, and I have not mentioned any particular faith. I'm using sound right reasoning and I'm using critical thinking to say who and what is God. I personally think that God is a intelligent, conscious being, okay? It's consciousness that exists throughout the whole universe. You see, we can think, we can make things, we can have negative and positive thoughts. So where do these thoughts come from? Let me read something. Consciousness. Where does consciousness come from? Consciousness is one of the biggest mysteries in philosophy, neuroscience, and even physics. No one has a definitive answer, but there are several compelling theories. Some scientists believe consciousness arises purely from physical workings of the brain, like a complex network of neurons firing, forming perceptions, thoughts, and emotions. This idea aligns with materialism, which suggests consciousness is a product of biological processes. Others propose that consciousness might be a fundamental to the universe, much like space and time. Some quantum theorists suggest that consciousness plays a role in shaping reality itself, though these ideas remain speculative. Then there's the idea that consciousness emerges from interaction, like how life itself isn't just cells, but a system of energy, information, and experience. This view suggests that consciousness isn't just in our brains, but arises from complex relationships in existence. Philosophically, people have debated for centuries whether consciousness is separate from the body or if it is simply dissolves when the brain shuts down. Some argue that consciousness is more than just brain activity, that it taps into something deeper, perhaps a universal field of awareness. Perhaps a universal field of awareness. I tell you that I personally think that God is pure consciousness. God is pure energy, an intellectual energy that moves throughout the boundless universes. Our minds are also connected to God because our thoughts and our consciousness is not limited to this physical realm, is not limited to this physical body. I think that God is consciousness. Our ideas about God. Whom and what is God? Where does it come from? Does it come from our religious books? Does it come from our religious texts? Does it come from our institutions? Does it come from the paintings that we look at? Where does these ideas of God come from? When I was a kid, I used to look up at the sky. I look at the clouds and sometimes looking for the face of God. And I saw a white man with a beard and white hair. But where did that conscious thought come from? Where did that come from? Probably from my grandparents who were very religious. Where did their beliefs about God come from? Where did our ideas of God come from? Where did our concepts of God come from? Where did our notions, our beliefs of God come from? And remember, a belief is not the same thing as a fact. Belief is not the same thing as a fact. Did these ideas of God come from our religious texts? Did it come from our scriptures? Did it come from paintings? Did it come from the buildings, the religious buildings that we have? Our idea and our concept of whom and what is God? I'll tell you something else also, that I think that God is a duality. Why would I say that? I think that God is made up of both female and male polarities. I think that God is a conscious energy, and God is made up of both male and female duality. Everything in nature seems to have a counterpart, opposites. Okay? You have positive and negative, and positive and negative helps to create a charge and helps to create life. If you look at nature, and if you look at even us as human beings, we have a female and a male, and you have the positive and the negative, and when these two charges hit, it creates energy, and it brings us into life, brings us into consciousness. Is it not possible that God is a duality of both male and female energy? Or should I say, God is probably male and female energy and frequency. God is consciousness of both male and female energies. I'm going to read something out to you about polarities. Does consciousness have a positive and negative polarity? This is what I asked co-pilot. Does consciousness have a positive and negative polarity? That's a fascinating question. While consciousness isn't typically discussed in terms of polarity like electrical charges, there are certainly ways to interpret it through a lens of opposites. Some philosophical spiritual traditions suggest consciousness contains both positive and negative aspects, like awareness of joy and suffering, or constructive and destructive thoughts. Just as light exists alongside darkness, some argue that consciousness operates in a dynamic balance, shaping our perceptions and experiences. In a more philosophical sense, our conscious minds process a mix of emotions, thoughts, and perspectives, some uplifting, others challenging. This duality, and I say it again, this duality could be seen as a kind of polarity pushing us towards growth, learning, and self-awareness. Some esoteric theorists even explore the idea of consciousness as a field of energy. Now this is what I'm saying. This is what I think it is, a field of energy, but boundless energy throughout the universe. Right? Consciousness can help to create things. Consciousness can help us to think and be aware. Consciousness can help us to identify things. Right? And it can be in several places at the same time. So God can be in several places at the same time, yes? Some more esoteric theorists even explore the idea of consciousness as a field of energy, suggesting it could have vibrational properties similar to electrical charges. While there is no scientific proof of this, it's an intriguing perspective. It's an intriguing perspective. They've been using computers for the longest of time. Man have been thinking for hundreds of years, where does consciousness come from? Even with the supercomputers now, they don't know where consciousness actually started, where it come from. But I know this much, that consciousness is some form of energy, a conscious energy. And I believe that consciousness has both a negative and positive force. It has both a negative and positive polarity. I believe that consciousness has a duality of both male and female principles, and that energy moves throughout the universe and can move simultaneously from place to place. Our bodies are too dense. Our bodies are like a prison. If God exists, if God is the all-knowing, the all-seeing, if God is and can be in several places, then I think it must be through some form of conscious energy and not through an avatar, like the avatars, the bodies that we have. We cannot travel from place to place simultaneously. We cannot go back, forth, and be in the present all at the same time. But the mind, the consciousness can and does. You can think of the past, you can think of the present, and you can think of the future. Is God an energy, a conscious energy throughout the boundless universes? God always existed, God exists, and God is. God is all, and all is God. God is an energy. You cannot kill energy. Energy can change form and shape, but you cannot kill energy. God always existed, God exists, and God is all. And I don't think God is limited to just a physical thing like us here as human beings in this avatar. Join me for part 2, where I look at who is God in a little bit more detail. This is part 1, and this is Eldad Amara. If you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you. Eldad Amara, and my channel Eyes Wide Shut.